Hey.
This is season 2, episode 13, and today we are here with a mom of a service missionary, which I think is so cool because it kind of is different from what I've done in the past. But Sister Mayer's mom, if you remember her episode, her mom reached out to me, and I've known of Katrina. This is Katrina Mayer, by the way. I've known of her for a while, but didn't really get to talk to her until I went to a mission homecoming of the Lancasters. And we got to talking, and she said, "Hey, I really want to get to know, or I really want to talk about what my experience is like." And um, she's a great person. Love her to death. She takes care of my little brother sometimes, and she does a great job. So I'll turn the time over to you, Katrina, and you can introduce yourself a little bit more.
Hello, I am Katrina Mayer, and as she said, and um, I just wanted to really share my experience. I actually am the mom of not one, but two service missionaries, and they both have been phenomenal experiences, and I hope to share and convey what I have learned and maybe help other parents and help other missionaries.
Awesome. Great. So where do you want to start?
So I'll just start with our experiences. So back in 2015, my oldest child, Kyle, he actually had put in his papers to do a mission. And they, of course, at that point had raised the bar. And they decided, our stake president told us that they decided that he was ineligible. And that's due to the fact that he had PTSD, and he had experienced watching his younger brother die and then come back to life when he was about 10 years old. And so that, even though he'd done therapy and done all of those things, PTSD, as many people know, creates depression. They can have trauma, different things. And so we were actually approached by our stake president whether we'd be open to piloting a service mission. And of course, we were open to looking at things. And so Kyle, Jeremy, and I sat down with our stake president, and he described to us what that mission would look like. And what that would look like for Kyle would be that he could decide whether he wanted to do 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months as a missionary. And that would encompass him. He had at that point, kind of decided that he would be able to work in facilities, meaning he would go and do work on the buildings and the temple in Vernal. So at this time, we lived in Vernal, Utah. And he would live at home. He would still go to the singles ward, and he could still date and do other things. But primarily Monday through Friday, he would work with the facilities from 7 a.m. till like 4 p.m. And then on Fridays and Saturdays, he worked as an ordinance worker at the temple.
Mhm.
And so that's what it consisted of. Kyle also chose 18 months. And so just like a traditional missionary, within a short time, we went through the temple and he was able to get his endowments, and he was set apart as a missionary. I mean, all of that was the same, other than he was a service missionary. And it went pretty well. There were definitely highs and lows, and he struggled because there wasn't a lot of guidance. Like, he didn't meet with the bishop, stake president often. I mean, he didn't do missionary letters. He didn't, he just did his thing.
Mhm.
Uh, and so it was quite a bit different than a traditional mission at that time. And there was a lot of, I'd say, fine tuning that needed to happen. And so he did the 18 months. And then when he completed that mission, it actually opened the door for him. So he moved to Logan, and that opened the door for him to be able to work for the University of Utah as in this facilities, which eventually led to him being able to go to school, and which was really awesome. And so fast forward, so in 2020, during COVID, Heidi decided she had never talked about a mission, thought about a mission. She got her patriarchal blessing and it talked a lot about mission. And Heidi has a seizure disorder and a migraine disorder. And right from the get go, she started talking about a mission. And I said, you do understand it will be a service mission. I said, there's no way they're going to send you on a traditional mission due to the fact that you have a seizure disorder. And it was just, I don't know, it was maybe a year later or 6 months later or something. We were here in our ward and the Lancasters and the service missionaries came and did a sacrament meeting. And it was phenomenal. And we actually went and talked to them, talked about the service mission, talked about what we had been through. And they talked to us for a few and let us know things were quite a bit different and those type of things. And then, so as Heidi got ready to graduate in 20, let's see, in 20,
21,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, she graduated in 21. No, because this is 24. No, she graduated in, let's see, 23. So she graduated in May, and then she started her mission in January of 20. No, she graduated 22. That's right.
Okay.
22, 21. Anyway, she graduated. Sorry, hold on.
Hmm.
I'm going to decline this call. I got a call right now.
No,
Sorry.
you're good. All good.
Hold on. Got to go back to Zoom. Okay, there we are.
There.
Anyway, so she graduated in 22 and she spent this summer working, preparing money wise, everything to be a service missionary. And we didn't exactly know what that was going to look like. So in September, she could submit her papers because she turned 19 in December. And so she started her paperwork. And at first, they were like, do we submit paper? There was a lot of confusion, I guess is the thing to say. So ultimately we wound up submitting just traditional paperwork, just like we did with Kyle. And we were waiting for the mission call and it had taken longer than normal. So we were waiting and we got a call from President Hammond and he asked us to come in and sit down and talk to him. They had actually reached out to us a couple of times asking for more information about her medical history and those type of things, because she did have a pretty complex medical history due to the seizure disorder and the migraines. So when we went in and sat down and talked to him, we actually didn't know how it was going to go. But he told us, he said, they're going to be calling her to be a service missionary. And we were not surprised by that, nor were we sad. And he told us, he says, this is in every way a mission and no one should ever be shocked that they're called on a service mission. And so that was really cool. It was really a spiritual experience. That was in, let's see, like the beginning of November. And then it was the end of November because she went and actually got her endowments before we actually had her call. And then it just proceeded from there. And so she was set apart actually on January 1st. And then she technically started her mission. I can't remember. It was just the first week in January, but very different. The Lancasters immediately sat down with us and said, okay, what are her strengths? What are her weaknesses? She's going to be doing service. What does this look like for you guys? And we fine-tuning her strengths, her weaknesses, where she could serve the best, what areas and different things. And at first, there was fine-tuning. Like at first they had her doing temple service on Tuesdays and she had to drive over to Afton in the middle of the winter. And as a mom, that made me really nervous. And I didn't get a ride. I just preferred somebody more seasoned. And it took a couple months that we fine-tuned that. And eventually she got where she was doing that service on Wednesdays. And we actually kind of have a summer, spring, fall, schedule, and then a fall or a winter schedule, because during the winter she can't drive over to Afton as
Mhm.
much as she would like. So we learned a lot about support couples and how supportive they are and helpful that they can be for helping her, strengthening her, helping her through when service seems to be really, really hard, or when she's not feeling well. I think that's part of it too, is there are days she just isn't okay. And there's been days we've had to call and say, hey, she's not going to make it.
Mhm.
And that's due to, and that's exactly why she's doing a service mission.
Yeah.
Um, the differences have been is she doesn't date. It is a 18-month mission. Um, she it has been, now we're going through a transition. Actually, her mission president has actually been President Hammond, and he's been great. And she actually, President Hammond, she sends him a letter every week about what she's doing. She checks in with him, which has been great. They actually, President Hammond is the one that drives her over with Sister Hammond to the temple on Wednesdays, which has been great. But now in January, they started tradition to transition into the service missionaries are joining with the Pocatello mission. There's still a lot of unknowns and a lot of things they're trying to work through. And so far, it's been okay. It's made things just a little bit different. We also had change in mission presidents, which that's completely normal.
Mhm.
The Lancasters left. We got the Porters, or she got the Porters, which that has been great. Um, but this transitioning to being with the Pocatello mission, with the proselyting missionaries, that's been a little bit different. And we still don't know like the ins and outs of it. She only has 6 months left in her mission.
Mm.
And that's been, we're still unsure.
Yeah.
She right now district leader,
Mhm.
um, and she's doing really great with that. Some days she struggles and
Mhm.
she's had to say, okay, I can't do that. You know, she gets a little terrified talking in front of people, especially if she's not feeling really super well.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, there has definitely been highs. There's been lows. She's had times where she's cried and cried, and it's pushed her. And but that's like other missionaries. She sends out a letter every single week, which I
Mhm.
love that part of it because she sends us a letter, the grandmas and grandpas, everybody gets a letter about what she's doing and pictures, and I love that. The other side is the sorry, the spiritual side that it's brought to our home, because our home is where she lives. And so, we only can have PG movies, we have to call her Sister Mayor. Um, Harder for me than Jeremy. Sometimes I have a hard time calling her Sister Mayor, but I would say overall, that has been a phenomenal experience to experience her growth and her um, trials and everything one on one has been amazing. Sometimes people will say, well, that's got to be cheaper having her live at home. For all other parents, it isn't cheaper.
Yeah.
Still drive. We still have to have a phone. We still have to feed her.
Mhm.
And it's not any cheaper.
Yeah.
And we found that with Kyle too. It wasn't any different financially. I mean, we had to buy their temple clothes, we have to pay for their gas, we have to, you know, all of those things. It still costs the same amount of money. It's not any different. I mean, I just take money out, I put it in her account, and I'll say, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And she lets me know, but they still need things. We've had to buy clothes just like you do a regular missionary. I
Mhm.
mean, we've had to buy shoes, we've had to buy seasonal. Sorry, we're gonna have her walk through real quick. We've had to buy seasonal clothing because of winter. I mean, so many things. We've had to have shovels, and shovels break.
Yeah.
So I would say on the parent side, none of that's different. I
Yeah.
mean, that it's still, I didn't buy luggage. That's probably the only thing that was is we didn't buy luggage, but
Mhm.
expense wise, it's the same. But you know that, Macy, you
Mhm. Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
yeah. So it was, overall, yeah. I'd do it again. You know, she's my baby. So we've
Mhm.
had two of our children do missions and two that didn't. We have another son that could have, and he didn't want to. So yeah, the two that did, male and female, you know, difference, but it was overall, yeah, it was phenomenal.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing your experience. I love how you talked about like the spirit that is brought into your home when you have a missionary living there um, and living there 24/7 and the new changes that are coming up and how much the service mission has grown because like the example that you shared with your oldest son, um, with Kyle, like I didn't even know that those kinds of things happened, but you guys were like right there, like the pilot program is really the base foundation of what the service mission is today. So I really appreciated all the insights that you shared as um, about all of it. So good.
Thanks. Share it with other people because not everybody gets to see how it's transitioned and how our first presidency prays a lot about guidance and how these missions transition and our missionaries. And it's phenomenal the work that they put in and how, you know, it just shows how our the church and everything is transitioning and it grows and it things improve and there's definitely room to improve and we're a church of change not perfection and so
Mhm.
they change things and things adjust and I'll never forget when Heidi was getting she doesn't love change and when it was getting ready to change mission presidents I said well honey this is just no different than any other mission I says most missionaries as they go on their mission experience 1 to 2 mission presidents
Mhm.
this is part of it and you learn to adjust to whoever your mission president is and they not any of them do it the same it's
Mhm.
always different
Yeah,
yeah
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time
well,
today. This was
you're-
such a pleasure to hear from you. So,
well thanks for letting me share
yeah, of course.